Hi everyone, it's July 10th, and this week I wanted to talk about what actually is happening this morning for one of my assessments. This morning I had a girl that came in, she's a teenager, and she's being transferred from another case, and she came in and she kind of looked like she had some stuff she wanted to talk about, so I introduced myself and she introduced herself. Um, and I told her that what we were planning for the day and how like we were going to have an assessment and we were just going to go over and we'd have 30 minutes. And I asked if there was anything she wanted to go over. And when I did that, she reported that her father is an alcoholic and went into a huge story about 2 weeks ago he put the family at risk and got uh, pretty drunk and got throwing objects in the house. Luckily, no one got hurt because all the kids had ran and hid. So she came in to tell me and said it's been this morning was rough because he knew she was coming in for therapy. He's super against her coming in. So it was not what I was expecting. Reason I'm talking about this today is not that I had to do a DCF report because I ended up doing that, but I've already did a video on that, but more of when you ask for help from someone else and meant also like that mental piece of I was assuming this girl was coming in and we were going to have a normal assessment, just checking in for our first one and start building our relationship, and then that is not what happened. So I let her kind of tell her story and asked a couple questions, and then I knew she had someone with her, and she was getting pretty upset. And while she was telling her story near the end, I said, "Do you remember what my title is and what I do?" And she said, "Yes, you're a therapist." And I said, "Do you remember that I'm a mandated reporter?" And she said, "Yes, that's why I'm telling you all of this." I said, "So you're telling me that you want me to follow through with this?" And she said, "Yeah." So we talked about that a bit, about what a mandated reporter is and how I would follow through with this. But also, she reported that she was really worried about this. It took her 2 weeks to tell because she was really worried that her father would backlash on her or her mother, and that was another reason why her mother hadn't called either. So we talked about that for a bit. We ended up putting a safety plan together of like where she can go, who she has in her life to support her. I was Our session ended up running over, which I told her we're going to run over, which is fine. I don't have anyone else next. So I would like to just go connect with my supervisor and make sure that we give you everything we can to support you and keep you around your safety plan, which she liked. And at that time, we had her aunt that was with her come in to help plan for her like a safety plan because she was with her for the day. And me and my supervisor connected and we talked about the safety plan, and filing with DCF, and that she would reconnect with me after. And we just I just made sure there wasn't anything else I was missing for supports. And she said just to make sure to remind her to call the police if she's home and she's not safe. So me and the girl talked about the police, and I asked her why she hadn't called in the past, and she said that she was scared that the father would backlash and hurt her or her mother or her sisters. So I asked, okay, so now knowing that I was going to file the report, was she willing to call the police if needed? And she said yes. And we went over how to call the police, so I wanted to make sure she knew. And then I also asked if her sisters knew how to, and she said yes, and she explained how she taught them. So that made me feel a little more comfortable. And her aunt also chimed in and was willing to have the girls come over until mom got out of work and kind of figuring out a plan from there. So it was a very different day than what I was expecting. So my piece is my other full-time job is I'm a caseworker, and a lot of times I work for the crisis team, so a lot of times I get called out to homes and I support through crisis until it's settled. To me, this was a kind of a crisis moment. It was really hard for me to just set a safety plan and let this girl walk out the door and not know if one, they were going to follow through with the plan, or two, if she was safe or not. And that was really hard for me today to do. But that's part of this role, is I can't follow her. She can't come home with me. I have to just be there. So she's coming back next week, early in the week, so we can check in and actually do our real assessment. So that will be nice. I did call DCF and I filed a report, and I followed up an hour later, like they said I could, to check in and see if it was approved. And the local supervisor, did not approve it because I was able to make a safety plan. And but it still needs to go to someone higher up. And the lady said to call at the end of the day, and I could find out if that person had approved it or not. So that was really hard to hear, knowing that this girl had told me all these stories, and this one specific story 2 weeks ago where this guy was really unsafe with his kids and just really worried about her. So waiting until I see her next week on Tuesday is going to be really rough. But so for you guys, if you guys want to post about anything, my question this week, I guess, would be any ideas on how to keep myself separate with her, because I am going to keep seeing her, but I need to keep seeing her as a therapist, not as a friend or anything like that. And I need to make sure that I keep that boundary. I think I'll be fine, but ideas are always helpful, and any experiences you guys have. Thanks.